And many of you probably imagine, just like I do, what if there's no conflict in the world between country, between people? We live peacefully. When you're having this thought, cognitive scientists, they will tell you that because how human brain is constructed, that's almost impossible. However, you may can avoid it by understanding it or even utilize it. To a more specific example, you 100% have this experience before. We're in some arguments. At the moment, you argue with that person and you feel you're doing good. But afterward, you realize, oh my God, there's a perfect sentence I should have said. However, why didn't I say it? After this video, I'm not going to say you 100% would not have that situation, but it will drastically decrease that kind of situation to you. To demonstrate why human brain construction bound to have a conflict, I will use an example. Imagine this scenario. A father is teaching the son to drive. When they on a turn, the son forget to turn on the turn signal. Then they sink into an argument and both of them are frustrated. When you hear their reasoning, both of them are reasonable. The dad see the whole situation as dangerous driving because in future, what if they didn't turn on turn signal and it get into a bad car accident? So he tray and speak with the tone of dangerous driving. But the son feel frustrated because he put the whole situation as a rookie mistake. I'm sure before when you drive, you didn't turn on the light signal once or twice. And your little tool overly react to my behavior. And until here, you will realize both of them have their own reason and both of them are sort of correct. However, how does this conflict happen in the first place? And why does it relate to our brain structure? How does our brain structure participate in this process? You realize I use a word in both of the scenario called perceive. This is when we put a specific situation, specific object into a category. Just like, for example, I will present a couple pictures here. Regardless how abstract it look, you can tell what it is. And that process we call perception are mostly causing conflict. Because when you try to come up a concept based on the real life, you have to neglect lots of details. Just like in the ocean, this drop of water may flew to miles away, but you wouldn't call this river a different name. Or how you recognize the animal in the earlier, because you need to neglect a lot of detail in the most abstract one to recognize that is whatever animal it is. But why should we neglect the details? Because our brain costs a lot of energy as a human in general. You cannot think of a solution to every single situation. For example, this time you saw a tiger running to you, you get bitten. Next time you saw a leopard running to you. If you think, yes, leopard, tiger, one dot, one stripe, so I'm safe this time, you will get eaten already. So you need to treat them the same. So your brain can have a reaction, a solution based on one category issue instead of every single nuance. However, here is where the problem laid. When different persons saying the same situation, they neglecting different details and they generate different concepts based on the realities. For example, the son and the dad, or even there's countless picture online. Some people, for example, this one, some people see as a grandma, some people see as a very young, attractive girl. What does happen is people neglecting different details, even to a level of international conflict. Some people think this is a self-defense, and some people think this is an invasion and inhuman behavior. And that's what generally happens, is people choose to jump in different scenario. Even then, the real scenario are way more complicated than a word can be described. And let's one back to the scenario we mentioned earlier. At the moment of argument, you choke, you don't know what to say, you don't know how to answer the question. But afterwards, you come up a perfect sentence. The answer is you start sinking to other people's concept. instead back to the scenario itself. Let me explain that. I know it's pretty confusing. Imagine you're a worker in a company and your boss come up to you, tell you how selfish you are. At the moment, you probably neglect what actually happened and directly jump into the concept of selfish. And the general solution for selfish are bad, stop. You should be shamed. You should not fight back because you're doing the wrong thing. But afterwards, you realize your behavior of whatever you've done cannot be even put in the selfish category. That's the time the golden words, the golden sentence that was missing earlier. So how can we avoid such a thing that get manipulated by others because they dig a hole for you to jump? The answer is actually opposite of our brain behavior. When we from a factual example situation to a concept, it's called abstraction. So you need to do a de-abstraction. For example, the work and the boss situation. The boss call you selfish is because you do not want to willingly work overtime. You do not want to take more work than you already had. So he call you a selfish because that's the detail he chooses to neglect. However, if you take a step back, you think about, okay, he called me a selfish on my work. So what does it mean work? Work means I exchange my productive time to money. So if you want me to put more productive time in on the exchange, you need to pay me more money. If I wouldn't accept the trade, how could you call me selfish? Or we even neglect the concept of work. We even more back to the object, the real situation, that I want to leave at 5 o'clock while my boss wishes me to do more. This is the original real raw material of what just happened. And if you even down to this level, you suddenly realize the person who being selfish are not the worker, not you. It's actually opposite. It's your boss. He don't want you to leave to do more work benefiting him. How could that call myself selfish? That's almost like a reverse engineer. And to a practical skill, how can we reverse engineer? How can we de-abstraction? How can we deal with the conflict perfectly with a practical skill? I would suggest you go read a book called Nonviolent Communication. And that's one of the book influenced me a lot. And I probably will make a separate video in futures. But back to the topic. Whatever we just talked about, what are we doing? Is we're thinking about our thinking process. In professional term or academia term called meta thinking, or in the very popular term everybody talking about, overused one, called critical thinking. And that this de-abstraction is basically what philosophers done every single day. Their job is not to make people think in concept term, but redefine concept based on real life situations. And you may ask why critical thinking is important. I don't find necessary for critical thinking. I don't find necessary for philosopher. But in reality, is this kind of generalizations use a concept to solve issue cause lots of problem. For example, you see stereotypes or even racist. Why does it happen? It's because they decide to neglect individual person within that group. They only think about, oh, this race, this person, this group of people who own this, they generally behave like this. Because they're only willing to use the brain-saving power mode to think about the world. Or in another term, they're not looking the world in a high resolution. For them, the world is blurred. Just like last time you have a conversation, you think they're dumb. Why? Because you realize they cannot see beyond the low resolutions, or they cannot grasp either abstract or realities. And in the end, I really hope you learn something and have a deep understanding why our brain correlated to conflict. And my name is Paul. I will see you next time.